Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the Colonial Dungeon, this is the Court Martial Podcast! Introducing your host for this evening, he has a bald spot on the top of his head, and he weighs in tonight at a number you don't need to know. He is the Colonial Loudmouth, Sean McCarty! And welcome to another fantastic edition of the Court Martial Podcast. I am, as always, your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, and today we have another special guest. And this guy I've been advertising for weeks now, and once again I did not come up with something funny for him because his comedy comes from his own, and we will see that later when he makes horribly offensive jokes that'll be taken out of context, and all of the liberals will sue. Welcome to the show, JoshAgeddon. How you doing, my man?
Dude, you need to put some more emphasis when you say special guest, because that is an act of me.
And we've hit the ground running, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. To get to this podcast, I rode the short bus to this show. I'm happy to be here.
You know, fun fact, actually, this is not even a joke. When I was in 6th grade, the only bus that would come to the house I used to live in was the short bus. I got so much shit for that. For a year and a half, the only bus that came to my house was the short bus. And it wasn't even meant to be like the special. It was just, there was a small town and they didn't have that many, but they had like 2 buses to the whole town. A big one and a little one. And I just got the short straw, no pun intended. And I have been ridiculed ever since.
Dude, if you think that's bad, I one time when I was like 5 or 6 was at my church, and I just grabbed an apple and threw it into the air. It landed right in a guy with Down syndrome's face.
I'm sorry.
I did not mean. I didn't mean to.
I'm trying really hard not to laugh.
I ran
because that's wrong, and that is a wrong thing to laugh about. But it's really making me smile here, and I don't like that.
What is the start of this?
I don't know. We've gone so far south so quickly, and let's just move on from that. Let's talk wrestling, which is the whole reason that we're here and why JoshAgeddon is here. We've got a great show. We have a lot to talk about, and today we're gonna play another game, Mr. Geddon.
All right.
And the game today is the all-time favorites, the best and the worst. It's the all-times here today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a category, and you are just going to give me either the best of whatever it is I did, like wrestler, feud, tag team, blah, 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 and the worst. On your opinion. It is not based on any collective opinion of anybody else or who is widely regarded as the best. No, forget that. It's you. I want to know your opinion, which is why you're on the show. Can you dig that, sucker?
I will dig that only if I'm able to make someone who disagrees with me pissed off. As pissed as humanly possible. Well,
we did kind of establish that was going to be the case. Like, that was pretty much thrown in your intro, was going to be the case. So we've covered that. That's a default. We got that covered for the rest of the show. So you're good.
This show's going to need to come with a trigger warning.
I'm going to have to put one of those disclaimers before the opening music cuts in. Or like one of those...
The Court Martial Podcast does not condone any of the opinions or viewpoints of JoshAgeddon. I don't even know why we still have him on sometimes.
It's because it's pure... It is entertaining. Whether you like it or you hate it, it's entertaining. And that's what we're here to do, is entertain.
Oh, yeah.
So let's kick this off with the best wrestler. Not all around, like total package, but just best pure wrestler. This is of all time, in perpetuity throughout the universe. And give me a little reason why.
Oh dear. Well, I'm tempted to say Khali, but
I know it's tough not to choose him.
That's a tough one. Honestly, I'm gonna go with The Undertaker just because I really like the documentary right now, and it's very interesting.
It is very interesting. Nice. I agree. Nice. Definitely with and we got, and for those of you who have not seen that documentary, it's one of the best things that WWE has done in a while is document the Undertaker. It really is an intriguing story, and now for the sake of this show, I'm not going to be giving my opinions on these. This is purely your opinion, and I'm not trying to distance myself from your opinion.
Are you sure about that?
I want that to be clear. No, it's just that as the guest on the show, I want you to be the lifeblood of the show and be the features. So this is all your opinions and your deal, and is not associated in any way with the Court Martial Podcast or its affiliates. Cool?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
All right. So the next one we've got is the best feud of all time.
Ooh, that's a tough one. These are all, the best of anything is going to be a tough one because there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, and you got a lot of history to go through.
Honestly, I'm tempted to go Shawn and Brett just because of how explosive and how it led to one of the most controversial events in wrestling of all time.
True.
I'm going to go with Shawn and Brett because I think that may have been one of the feuds where they legitimately hated each other the most. I'm sure there's been feuds where two guys or two girls just didn't like each other, but to the extent at which Brett and Shawn hated each other, that made it just feel so real. Also, I'm a huge fan of their Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12. I love long matches.
It's really good.
The longer, better. So yeah, I'm going with Shawn and Brett.
Yeah, I hear you on that. With Shawn, it's fascinating to me. I mean, it's still talked about today almost as much as it was at the time, which is tremendous in just the fact that Brett's story hasn't really changed much, and neither is Shawn's. But the animosity at the time, the back and forth, just how much coverage it's gotten. It's truly one of those, the most, it feels as personal as it looked.
Yeah. And you could honestly feel it.
Yeah. And that's all I wish wrestling could make us do is feel intensity, not anger. If that makes sense.
And if nothing else, this feud did lead to Bret Hart giving Vince McMahon a real uppercut. So, just that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah. Socked him in the face. And then think about all the good it did for even Vince McMahon. For the Mr. McMahon character and where that was going to lead to, and like all the good that came out of it, except I do feel bad for Bret. Just because WCW was such a madhouse that they couldn't get him right, and so he just stopped caring. And then his career ended with him, well, with big surprise. It's big old Billy G. And I'm not going to talk for the sake of another guest on this show, Mr. Skylar Greenberg, who I promised him that he would be the one to talk about Goldberg. I promised him. So we're going to skip over him. I do feel bad for Bret, though, just because he deserved a better career finish than that.
When Skylar is on and he is talking about Goldberg, you have to correct him whenever he doesn't call Goldberg Billy G, and you have to make Michael Jackson references as he's talking about Billy G.
Billy G.
It's only fair.
What you should also do is he should, Billy G, we should get a photo of Billy G, and I'm going to have, like, superimpose Chad Gable's, like, shorts and t-shirt onto Bill Goldberg.
Just Goldberg's body with white Michael Jackson's head.
Yeah, what people don't know is that the alternative to Goldberg coming back and facing Bray Wyatt was him teaming up with Shorty G as Billy G, and they'd just be the G's, and it was going to be great. It was going to be fantastic. It's pure WWE nonsensical garbage at its finest. Next,
I'm not convinced that whenever they're on their backstage meetings and their booking meetings, that they're not all on drugs. I'm not convinced that they're not.
I am convinced that, because if they were, boy, and I was worried about your opinion. If they were doing drugs, the show would be better. It'd be more creative. I think it's. I'm not saying they should. I'm not advocating anything. I'm not in any way. I'm not advocating in any way, shape, or form that anyone take drugs.
I love that your thing is they should start, and my thing is I'm like they should stop.
Well, whatever they're doing ain't working. so whichever one of us is correct in this assertion.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
Oh, man.
Let's move on to best tag team of all time.
Best tag team of all time. I'm honestly okay. So I also listened to the revival, which what are they also calling themselves
FTR,
now
I
that
think
they're
it
not
is.
FTR.
Yep.
I heard their podcast with Chris Jericho, and they mentioned how tag teams really haven't been a main event since like when the Road Warriors were around.
Yeah.
That's the biggest tag team wrestling got, at least for that time. Plus, my dad adores the Road Warriors, so I'm gonna go with the Road Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about the Road Warriors that were special. I mean, they had the look. You know, they didn't need to be the best grapplers of all time, but you know, Hawk could definitely work. Animal had his moments too. You know, as far as when they had their own little singles runs, except for the one in 2005 with Heidenreich. That was something. Anyway, anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's leave that buried in the annals of wrestling. But the Road Warrior, still, they were so influential. I mean, the Road Warrior pop is still something that's very widely used in terminology because they went everywhere and were over everywhere. And good choice. Good choice. Next up, best angle of all time, like your favorite moment of something big happening, or best big moment of all time.
Okay, this is going to be a kind of a more just totally my opinion and how it's affected me. It's just a completely personal one, so this one isn't even right. But for me, the angriest I've ever gotten watching wrestling was when I first started watching wrestling. Back when I was whoever was a babyface at the time, that's who I'm gonna like, and whoever's a heel at the time, that's who I'm gonna dislike.
The way it should be.
So basically, back when I first started watching, I was like my mom, because my mom does the same thing. So the first time I ever got really mad watching wrestling was when The Miz cashed in on Randy Orton, because when I first started watching wrestling, Randy was my favorite. He's still in my top 3 today.
I dig Randy.
The Miz cashing in on Randy Orton infuriated me because I loved Randy Orton so much, and I very much related to the angry Miz girl in the audience. So I'm gonna go with that because it just I got so angry that when I got SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, I went to the story designer and made an angle where Randy Orton got revenge inside Hell in a Cell.
There you go. That would have been nice.
Even though the Hell in a Cell match was at the TLC pay-per-view, because I didn't exactly understand how wrestling worked at the time. And you can argue that I still don't, but just, you know, I digress.
Yeah, no, I kind of feel bad for Miz because it was before he was ready for that.
Yeah.
He was not ready for that spot. And I said that before on the Spotlight, and I'll say it again. Miz, if you had done that in 2016 with Miz, I think that would have had a better effect long-term for the Miz's career.
And it also didn't help him that every single time he retained the title was because someone helped him. You can only pull that card so many times before it gets old.
And a part of that is that they pushed him too early, and he didn't really... Nobody believed that he was going to convincingly beat people clean at that point. You know, he wasn't in the shape that he ended up getting into, and I'm not knocking Miz because he's clearly athletic, but he had my pudge, for lack of a better phrase, in 2011. He did not in 2016. He toned up a lot, and his attitude was a lot. And him and Ziggles, like what him and Ziggles was doing, that was a pretty powerful moment even still, because Miz was getting booed in 2011. I just don't think he was ready for it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree.
It's but still, Angry Miz Girl. We were just talking about Angry Miz Girl. Was it on the other? It might have been actually on the most recent podcast with the other guy I got on the show. who shall remain nameless, even though I've mentioned his name already, but still.
Remember that one time you were on my podcast and he materialized as a set of notes? That was weird.
I don't know how, it was a teleportation. One day we will have to have him in script form back on the show. And just tell him you're only allowed to write notes.
That one time he got stuck in the ether.
He is the note master, though. He did write very well worded notes. Wink.
Oh yes, he did. Completely stealing other people's jokes.
That's okay. Hey, from Jim Cornette's mouth, and I will take this to heart. And this is something you could all benefit from. If you're gonna steal from multiple people instead of one, because then it becomes research instead of plagiarism.
Yes. That's really good. I really like that.
Sage words. Write that down. I wrote that down, and it's on my corkboard, and I see it every time I wake up in the morning.
That's an amazing quote.
Wisdom. Was way sizable words. Next up, best show. Full show of all time for you.
WrestleMania 19. It's my favorite WrestleMania, and it's probably my favorite wrestling show.
It is a great show. I mean,
the whole Triple H Booker T controversy aside,
yes,
I adore that show.
I will say, as far as Triple H and Booker T goes, at least they had a good match.
Yeah, it was a good match.
It was a good match. I enjoyed it. It told the story, but Triple H should not have won clean.
Yeah. And he's probably still trying to make his way over to cover Booker T with one hand.
As we speak. As we speak. It is so true. But, I mean, all the matches on that show. I mean, the Brock and Angle match was great. Shawn and Jericho was fantastic. What else was on that show? There was Undertaker. Rock and Austin 3. There was Undertaker versus A-Train in the Big Show.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely a match.
Rey Mysterio versus Matt Hardy version 1.
Oh yeah, I remember that match being really good. That was with Shannon Moore on the outside, right? He had joined him by then. Yeah.
And also it was the Vince McMahon Hulk Hogan match that was on that show.
Oh my god, the Vincent Hogan, Jesus, that really was a stacked pay-per-view.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That was a stacked pay-per-view. That was a great time to be a wrestling fan. Was in 2002 to 2003. That was really when I started getting truly invested in the product, and so I watched from 2002 all the way up till about 2006, and then I kind of cut off a little bit, jumped back in 2009, and then cut off again, and now I'm here. So
now I have a podcast.
Now I have a podcast where I think I know what I'm talking about, and he thinks he knows what he's talking about. And none of the views are reflective of our sponsors. And up next, best have to. In these days, you got to disclaim.
Yes.
Disclaim before you're in financial pain. Best talker. Who speaketh the best?
Okay, who does the best promo? I'm gonna go with CM Punk.
I knew you were gonna too.
I am. The M in CM stands for Mark, and I am a CM Punk Mark. I'm sorry.
It's cool. It's totally
cool. I don't know
cool.
how bad of a CM Punk Mark I am. I refuse to watch his UFC matches because it hurts me too much.
I hear you. I understand. That's not CM Punk. That's an abomination.
That's not Punk. That's Phil.
That's Philip. But Punk is a hell of a talker. I mean,
Punk is by far one of the best promos ever.
He could talk his ass off, man. I mean, even when he was given words to say, as we saw in the live stream of the show I had the script for, even when he's given words to say, even when he's lost his passion for the business altogether, he still sounds convincing, and he could talk his ass off. He knows how to work a microphone. His commentary was fantastic, I thought.
Yeah.
Even though he said, do not adjust your sets a lot. A lot.
Well, he was worried about the way you had your TV set up in your house. He didn't want your house to catch fire.
I know, but he
wanted the aspect ratio.
But he expected that everybody had bunny ears, but it's 2011. We all had just either straight up cable or some connection at that point. It's still, I'm picking nits. He's obviously great. Oh, CM Punk. What? CM Punk for hacker confirmed? Have you heard that rumor?
No, I have not.
Everybody thinks, well, not everybody, but people originally thought, and I think there are still some who do think, that CM Punk is going to be the mystery hacker.
Oh.
Even though,
the truth guy?
Even though it seems like it's Mustafa Ali because it's his logo. But the rumor mill has been circulating that it might be CM Punk. I just don't think that's true.
Every time the WWE does a mystery anything, there's always going to be it's got to be CM Punk this time.
I know, but it caught a lot of it caught a lot more wind this time around, and I think a lot of that's just from him being on the show, on the backstage show, which nobody watches. But we've got 2 more of these, and then we got to go to the worsts. So,
okay.
Do you want me to save the worsts, or do you want me to save the last 2 bests for the end so you can end on a happy note, or do you want me to just plow through these bests and then just go through the drudges and misery?
Just go ahead and finish these off, and then we will suffer together.
All right. Pain it is. Pain it is. Let's go to the best all-around professional wrestler, from the microphone to the persona to the in-ring work to everything you quantify as. Who is the best all-around ever?
Probably The Rock. I'm gonna go with The Rock.
The Rock.
I really like his in-ring work. I know a lot of people don't like his in-ring work.
I don't understand that, though. Why?
I mean, I don't know. I just know that some people just have a problem with his in-ring work. Some of his stuff isn't the most crisp thing ever.
Oh, give me a break.
Everyone has their off days. I think he just has the perfect combination of good in-ring work. He's amazing on the microphone. He has everything, and he became a Hollywood superstar.
Yeah, I mean, The Rock's on top of the world right now. People are pushing for The Rock to run for president. Think about that. That's where
Sonic the Hedgehog was pushing for that.
That's where The Rock is right now in his life. He went from being a generic baby face who nobody cared about to people wanting him to be the president of the United States in a 20-year period. That ain't bad.
Yeah.
That ain't bad.
And I actually borrowed my uncle's Rock DVD the other day, and I've been watching that.
Nice.
Some of his older matches like that. Remember his steel cage match with Shane McMahon for the WWE title?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's on that DVD.
Shane McMahon.
And it's surprisingly entertaining.
Shane's always been entertaining. He's just got insufferable over the past couple of years. Yeah. But back then, he was just as engaging. He wasn't drawing, but he was just as engaging as a foil for The Rock and Austin and whoever else was crossing the dreaded evil McMahon's me.
Yeah.
You know what would have been great if just once we got to see Vince and Shane McMahon come out as Wario and Waluigi. Just once.
Sean.
Just picture it.
I want to see Vince come out as Dr. Eggman and Shane come out as Dr. Robotnik from the classic era.
Oh, God. Oh, man, that'd be funny.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I should have a...
Now I'm offended.
I know. Should have Vince McMahon dressed as Aku Aku and Shane McMahon be Crash Bandicoot.
No! Do not ruin these games for me, Sean. I swear to God. Just a floating Vince McMahon head,
Oh,
screaming about FanDuel.
God. Neocortex Vince McMahon.
God,
Get those crystals, damn it! Oh, that's great. That is fantastic. Okay.
And at the 28-minute mark, me and Sean just collectively lost our minds.
Yep. This is what we do. This is what the Court Martial podcast is all about. Last one here. The best match you've ever seen.
Best match I've ever seen.
Best match all time.
I've said it before on this show, but I'll say it again. Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, the Iron Man match. That's my favorite match.
It's a classic. It is a classic. I really need to rewatch that match. That match was truly, it was an epic.
It's spectacular.
It really is. Now, to go from, I guess we kind of softened the blow into the worst by having all the Vince McMahon video game visuals. But, but let's go into the worsts. So let's start with the worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler of all time.
Worst wrestler of all time.
I can't say Kali because he's our spotlight.
You can. You can say whatever you want here. We've disclaimed everything.
He might be up there, but I don't think he's the worst. Worst wrestler of all time. That's a tough one. There's been a lot of bad ones.
Yeah.
Remember that one female wrestler that Carmella squashed that one time, and I lost my mind over the girl with the weird hairdo. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember her name, but that's who I'm going with.
Is that Taylor Hendricks?
Maybe. Nameless Jobber Girl number 35. That's who I'm going with.
Do you remember when that was?
It was like in 2000. It was during the Carmella and Nikki Bella feud.
Oh.
It was during that.
Oh.
When they were trying to push Carmella.
Yeah.
It was before she became Mrs. Mella in the Bank.
Okay. I think that was Taylor Hendricks. I think. I'm not positive, but I think that might have been Taylor Hendricks. Anyway.
Whoever she was, the worst I've ever seen.
Her. Unfortunately, I also have a female wrestler to put into this. If I were doing this, even though it's all your opinion, I tried to find a match with her in it actually for this podcast for our match of the week. Her name is Jackie Gata. Sorry, Charlie Haas.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Sorry, Charlie Haas. And sorry, Jackie Gata. But it was.
Oh no, I'm thinking about someone else. That was the girl that was in the tag team match with Trish Stratus, right?
Yes.
Oh no, I was thinking of somebody else.
Yes, that was. I wanted that match because Chris Nowinski and Bradshaw were good, but you could tell. But just watching JBL get pissed is great, and also seeing Trish start laying it in like actually stiff is also terrific. It. Even JR says, "Oh, that was bowling shoe ugly," and it really was. All right, next up is worst feud you've ever seen.
I've seen a lot of bad ones. I want to say Kane Triple H 2002, but that one's more hilarious than anything else. It's disturbing and disgusting and dumb, but it's funny. You know, just because I despise it so much, I'm gonna go with Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton in 2016 as my least favorite because it was just so insufferable.
Yeah.
The whole.
Can I make a suggestion for one though that you may have forgotten?
I'm concerned. But go ahead.
Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler. 2011.
That one, I hated that one, but I loved the Kiss My Foot match because that was pretty funny.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. It was just, I hated Cole. I couldn't listen to WWE at this time. I hated heel Cole. The play-by-play.
I would mute shows.
The play-by-play show. The play-by-play should never be heel. Period. The play-by-play has to be the straight man. It just didn't work. It was nasty, and because Cole didn't really call many moves that great anyway, it's.
When he would start yelling about how much of a heel he was. That's when I'm just like, I can't watch this. I need to mute the show.
And I really do believe that it was this era that started the descent of WWE's commentary team for good. It's just because it then turned into the Michael Cole school of commentary, and now we have people bickering with each other rather than putting over people in the match and putting over the match. And we're going to talk about that in the match of the week. But it's anyway. Bray Wyatt and Orton was also bad in 2016. I agree. That one was also rough.
And it crossed over 2017 and got even worse.
Oh, you mean you didn't like creepy crawly bug projections onto the mat?
No, I preferred the maggots, and I also loved the House of Horrors.
Oh, House of Horrors.
So
that's right.
Yeah, I want to go visit that particular house.
That was dumb.
I hated that feud so much.
And for those of us who are like, oh, the cinematic adventure is a new thing, go back to this match and tell me that cinematic adventure is a new thing. And for good or bad. Then we have worst tag team.
The Fashion Police. Instantly. I despise them.
In gimmick?
Yes.
Okay.
They're fine workers, but their gimmick is just... I hate them. Especially, like, remember when they had that tag team title match and Tyler Breeze kept dressing up as, like, a janitor or, like, an old lady? And I'm just like, why am I watching this?
Yeah.
I hated that.
Anytime they do stuff with, like, costume changes, it just, like, it adds to the hokiness of it being a performance rather than being people who want to fight. And it's not even that it was like on a TV. It was a pay-per-view championship match. Yeah, that sounds about right. So
although I do know what your least favorite tag team of all time is. Do you want to know what your least favorite
Yeah,
tag
I'd
team
love
of all
to
time
hear
is?
what my least favorite tag team of all time is.
Braun Strowman and Nicholas.
Oh, you hit me there. You hit me there. You know,
I went there.
You went there, and I'm glad you did, because that instantaneously is, in fact, my least favorite tag team of all time. And you absolutely nailed it. I'm not even going to get started into that. We'll talk about that another time. Maybe if we...
ruining Crash Bandicoot for me.
It's okay. It could have been worse. I could have made it worse. But we're not gonna. We're still in the middle of the worst. We're still in the middle of the worst. Yes, let's not get into a pissing contest in the middle of the show. The worst show all around.
Just pretty much any of the Battleground shows minus the 2016 one. Battleground is probably WWE's worst ever set of pay-per-views. The 2013 one sucked. The 2014 one sucked. The 2015 one literally made me shut the show off. 2016 one was pretty good.
Was Battleground? Battleground was where where Owens tapped, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was when I shut the show off, when I could take no more.
I remember that. I remember you shutting the show off.
Blinded by a fury of rage.
Yeah. Old school Joshua.
The 2017 one was when we had a Punjabi prison match between Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton with a cameo from the Great Khali.
Who we will be talking about shortly.
Yes, also full circle. So yeah, I'm gonna go with pretty much any Battleground show other than 2016, because again, 2016 was a good show.
I feel like the most recent Battleground wasn't bad, but I cannot for the life of me remember a single match on it.
It had the Cena versus Rusev flag on a pole match with different rules that they've never used before.
No, not in 2019.
They had a Battleground in 2019?
Yeah.
I don't think they did.
I'm pretty sure they did. Maybe they didn't.
I think 2017 was the last one.
It very well could be. You might be right there. I will look this up at some point on my podcast, but not at this moment. We will get the answers for you, or you could all just leave it in the comments.
Yes.
And Do all your while you're liking and sharing and hitting the bell button and subscribing and all that obligatory stuff that every single YouTube channel has to say at some point.
You forgot checking out the description so you can get that sweet, juicy link to TAW Gaming.
Oh, yeah, you guys. Oh, that's right. I didn't even promote it. See, I'm at the point now where I feel like I've promoted this guy so many times. Now he's begging me for promotion. Business must be really bad on his side.
I'm practically his sister at this point.
Okay, okay. Let's. I'm gonna just stick my arm out. We're gonna pull this back a little bit. 40 minutes in, and he's calling me his sister.
Yes.
So, let's move along before this gets any worse. The worst angle of all time. Worst moment.
Worst angle? There's so many bad ones. Probably the worst angle or moment was when because this is the one I'm thinking of now. I don't know if I would say it's the worst, but this is the one that I'm landing on right now. When the whole page Charlotte bringing up her dead brother.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah.
'Cause that was just.
I wish you died in the womb.
That was also pretty bad.
That was bad. That was.
Or Randy Orton saying Eddie Guerrero, he's not up there in heaven, he's down there in hell. That was also pretty bad.
That was in poor taste, but he did get heat for it. I'll give him credit. But still.
I'm gonna go with the Charlotte Page one because
yeah.
That one was like it didn't work. It was awkward, and it just made everyone be like, "Okay, guys, can you like stop with the dead people thing?"
Yeah, that's unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. You know, it's actually in a way I got really upset at Punk when he did that with Paul Bearer. I had a problem with that. Yeah, I was really I was like that. It was like not even a week, right? And then Paul Heyman comes out doing the impersonation, which is maybe what Bear would have wanted. I don't know. Who knows? Only he did. But I still found that in poor taste at the time. I remember cutting a pretty fiery promo to nobody in particular about about that incident. Although it did get heat.
Back in pre-colonial times.
Yes. Yeah, that was pre-colonial times. That was the Mesozoic era. Or it was a long time ago. Worst talker. Who cannot talk?
Worst talker? Oh God. There's a lot. I'm gonna go with Kalisto. I'm gonna pick on Kalisto because that one promo where he was just sputtering and tripping over everything, and he just kind of gave up. Yeah, I'm gonna pick on Kalisto.
I would say 2013 to 2015 Roman Reigns.
Also pretty bad.
Because I love that time when he was getting ready for the Rumble, and he like almost asked the questions like, "I will win the Royal Rumble. I think, maybe, we'll have to see." It was so bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
Then, last one, worst all around of all time. The worst all around.
Worst all around of all time.
Can't talk, can't wrestle, didn't draw a dime.
I'm gonna go with Giant Gonzalez.
That's a good one.
Because he had the Undertaker's worst match that everyone likes. When your match is so bad that it's more forgotten than a Hell in a Cell match where you literally tried to hang someone, that's when you know it's bad.
Because he tried to chloroform the Undertaker. He chloroformed the Undertaker. Yeah. A giant had to use chloroform to knock out the Undertaker.
That was WrestleMania 9.
WrestleMania 9, ladies and gentlemen. That was a pay-per-view anomaly in and of itself.
Right, WrestleMania 9, the rise of McMahon Walker.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, God. Oh, no. Picture Vince as Princess Leia.
Oh, God.
This is Princess Leia. Stephanie as Voldemort.
Stephanie is Rey.
Oh, man. Anyway, before we get into that, and then we got one last one here. The worst match you've ever seen.
Worst match I've ever seen? Probably the Jenna Maraska Charmel match.
That's pretty bad.
I have never seen any kind of match. Like, even Jeff Hardy High getting DDT'd once was better than that.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
And that her entrance where she was trying to shove her rectum into the camera.
Bad. Oh, it was painful.
Bad memories. Terrible memories.
I watched that match once and only once.
Same.
And it was one time too many. There are not enough bowling shoes in the bowling arena to compare to how ugly that match was. That match was drinking punch all night at the prom. That's how ugly it was. All right.
That's a match even a mother couldn't love.
Yeah, that's right. The match that looked like it did a 100-yard dash in a 90-yard gym. All right. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. We have come so far and gotten nowhere, as is usual for our podcast here. But now we've got a match of the week without a intro because I'm still working on the intro, but I promise there will be an intro. Before this year is out, you will have an intro. I promise you. We will have an intro for this match of the week at some point. But do we want one for this match?
I also want to point out that Sean specifically selected this one to torment me.
Yes.
Just keep trying.
This, I deliberately chose this one for Mr. Geddon here because...
I don't know what I did in my life. Whatever I did to you, Sean, I'm sorry.
Well, but the next time... The next time that you come around, I'll get you a real nice TNA match. Would you like that? Would you like a nice TNA match?
To have Jeff Hardy and drugs, I'll be good.
Nope, I'm thinking a triple threat match.
Oh, I know exactly what match you're talking about. That does sound pretty good.
Yeah, we'll see. You like a good TNA triple threat match?
Oh, yes, Sean, please. Anyway. All right.
Great Khali versus John Cena. Judgment Day. Judgment Day 2007. And
this was not horrible?
It was not horrible. I would agree. I chose this match because for those of you who don't know and who potentially live under rocks, JoshAgeddon was not always the biggest fan of John Cena.
Yeah, I went through a phase.
He went through a real rough phase there, real rough patch where there was a lot of anger, a lot fewer monsters, or maybe the same amount of monsters, for all I know. But it was hate-filled, it was energy drink fueled, and now he's just reduced it down to energy drinks.
Yes.
And
I have gone from pure hatred of 1,000 Suns to just snarky, annoyed indifference.
That's maturity. Seriously, not all wrestling fans have that capability. So
I also like to appreciate that Sean just called me mature after what we just did a couple seconds ago. But we're not going to talk about that.
Hey, everybody has their moments. Yeah. So Great Khali and John Cena. I'm going to now, because this was a YouTube clip, I'm going to put the YouTube clip down in the description, bring it all the way full circle to my promotion of my own channel. If you go into the description, you will find a link not only to TAW Gaming and all of TAW Gaming and all the fantastic stuff he's got going on there, which is always captivating, engaging, and full of life and energy that only the best can provide. But you will also find the Great Khali versus John Cena. Which is, I would not put in the same level of praise as I just did TAW Gaming.
Yes.
However, this did have, it was interesting that the audience was still kind of lukewarm to John Cena, even in 2007. This was not the massive pop I was expecting for him.
I honestly thought this was the match where he gave him the FU in the match, but I think that was a Raw match. But and I also thought while I was watching, I was like, "This is the Falls Count Anywhere, right?" And I was like, "No, this is the Jeff." I've never seen this match before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never seen this one. I've seen some of their Falls Count Anywhere match, but this is my first time seeing this one, and it's weird because again, it was actually decent. It was surprisingly short.
Cena sold his ass off in this match.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my god.
as much as he gets my gander going, he was actually pretty good in this match.
He was working hard to make Kali look like he could move.
Although I will say, before the match even started, I thought it was funny that the announcer was like, "From India, the Great Kali. From West Newbury, Massachusetts, in the United States of America." I'm like, I like how you're incredibly specific with one guy, and the other guy, oh, he's just from a country.
Well, Kali's so big that he is the entire country.
Yes, he is.
That's one Kali equals 1.6 billion people.
I can believe that.
That's just it's the math that they have been given, that we've been given here on the sheet. It's right here on the notes that I've got right here. They mentioned that. Anyway, Kali has a very defined jawline, doesn't he?
He could stab someone with that.
He's got some crimson chin vibes going. Crimson Kali. Picture it. Here comes.
Kali in spandex is making me think of Giant Gonzalez, so I would like to stop.
Well, it wouldn't have the flesh print, which made no sense, by the way. It would just be the Crimson Chin outfit, but Great Kali, and his really bent-in legs, so he'd have that weird waddle walk. I'm not trying to make fun of him. It's what he does.
I will say, there was a point in this match where John Cena did the throwback facebuster. There's some people he can do that move to, and it looks great. There's some people he can do it to, it looks kind of awkward.
And then there's Kali.
He did it in this match, and it looked so awful.
Yeah.
And I was just like...
Kali can't move that fast, man.
But then he went and did the diving leg drop, and it looked absolutely brutal.
It did look brutal. That looked like he pretty much sat on his head.
So I'm just like, it's weird watching Cena do one move to Great Kali, and it looks absolutely atrocious, and then turns around and does another move, and it actually looks devastating. It's just, this was a weird match.
It was a weird match, because do you notice that the most that Kali moved from the center of the ring was just to go out and smash Cena's head onto the announce table, or he just stood in the center of the ring, slammed him down, leg drop, picked him back up, and did the axe kick. He did the axe kick.
Yeah, he did the axe kick too. I've seen him do the axe kick before, so that didn't really surprise me. Him doing a leg drop, the man leaving his feet.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah.
I've never seen that was the most mobile I've ever seen the Great Kali, was doing a leg drop. But did you see how measured he was? He was really picking his spot on that, like, all right.
He was like, all right,
we're going down.
I didn't actually break my leg in the middle of this championship match.
God, yeah, he did not want to pull a Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
He definitely did not want to pull a Sid Vicious. That would have been bad. Then Jerry was wearing a very white shirt. He was kind of a side note to this match. He didn't really add or subtract to it either way, did Jerry. But I think JR, this is just another testament to how good JR is. JR is putting over how ferocious and monstrous the Great Kali is, and how resilient and persevering that John Cena is. He's putting over both talent in the way that only JR can. Why can we not have more commentators like this?
But you don't like having 15 commentators yell at each other, like, in a really childish fashion when a match is trying to happen? You don't enjoy that?
No, I really don't. And even to Lawler's credit in this was a time when both Jerry and King were JR and King were both babyface, and so King was able to just kind of do some compliments without being irritating.
I miss commentary with not even two babyfaces, just two announcers just calling the show.
Yeah, who aren't trying to play roles. That's the thing.
I hate that commentary nowadays, everyone has to have a role. Why can't you just be announcers and call the show?
I have finally determined that is exactly what I don't like about Corey Graves. Because Corey sounds so much like he's doing shtick rather than being organic. And he's trying to be the, I have to be the heel, I have to be the contrarian, rather than just being somebody who's like enjoying the match and is reacting naturally and organically to what's happening in front of them. I know it's all scripted.
He's the savior of misbehavior, Sean.
But God, they gave him a podcast. So they're obvious he's not being a dick on the podcast, so why are you making him be a dick on the show? It's anyway.
He's a dick on Twitter, but everyone's a dick on Twitter, so.
The Great Khali versus John Cena. And then and then we get the Andre rope spot.
Yes,
I love this at any time that they do it. It works with Khali, it worked with Andre, Cena coming up, but then Khali just popping out of it. And I don't know whether you saw that right before that, as Cena was getting out of that trapezius lock, you could see Cena say push, and then Khali push Cena. I don't know whether you saw that, but I saw him call that. I'm on to you, John.
That makes me think of when Cesaro at Battleground 2013, when Cesaro gave Khali the big swing. And when Cesaro was pinning Khali, you could hear Khali going, 1, 2, 3. It's like, why?
Because Khali. You gotta love it.
Beautiful 7-foot-tall man.
Why? I don't know why we were blessed with the Great Khali, for good or bad, but he is a solid piece of entertainment no matter what, and we'll talk about him in a second. Then we got an STFU that still looks bad because of the way John holds it. It's just the way John holds it. Because it just doesn't look like it's doing anything, does it?
It looks like between his hands and the person's face, you could shove a football field in between.
Yeah. It just doesn't look good. And then Cena gets the tap out. And this is the first time, and they mentioned this at the beginning, this is the first time that Khali's ever been pinned or made to submit. And I just...
Remember when he squashed The Undertaker?
Yeah, I do. And it just...
So weird.
It's not that I don't think John shouldn't have won here. That's not the problem. But if this is the first time you're having somebody break a streak, wouldn't it be more prudent for Cena to once again mox his proverbial guns and all his functional strength and just get Khali up into an FU and not waste that moment on Raw? And just pin him with an FU and let that be that and have him be pinned. Don't make the guy tap out. Not on the first loss. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I honestly haven't thought about that, but again, I was expecting an FU in this match, but we didn't get one. So yeah, I very much see what you're saying, and I do think that would have been a better finish. It definitely would have gotten a bigger pop from the crowd.
I think so as well. I mean, it's not that... I think it would have actually been better if he had powered out of that STFU just by, like, pulling him off or something like
Plus,
that.
his right leg was all up in the ropes, which I think they did on purpose to set up for the next match.
But still, he's still tapped.
Yeah.
Even if you had kept his leg under the ropes and that was your out, it's a pretty weak out for the great freaking Khali. Yeah. You know, what if they had done the same thing? He gets into the STF, he's wrenching it really hard, and then Khali just rips him off, and Cena's like, oh my god, and Cena gets up, Khali gets up and he's hobbling a little bit, Cena goes to the run, big ass chop from Khali, down goes Cena, down goes Khali, kick 1, 2, kick out. And as he's going to kick out, Khali's kind of slow to get up because his leg's hurting him and his head's hurting him. And he ends up crawling over John Cena's shoulders. And just at that moment, Cena's slowly starting to rise up. And he starts to pick up the Great Khali. And they're like, oh my God, there's no way he's getting him up. And he functionally does basically a full squat pull lift of the Great Khali up onto his shoulders. Hits the FU that nobody thought could happen. Gets the cover. Boom, 1, 2, 3, new WWE champion.
And that's the story of how John Cena rose above India.
That's exactly. America conquers all. But it's not where I was headed with that at all.
You're the straight man, and I'm the chaotic color commentator who cannot just. I'm.
I know. Thanks a
very
lot,
much a pain.
Jerry. Thanks a lot, Jerry. But anyway.
They're trying to call him that. You're like puppies.
Oh God, but the final thoughts of this match. All in all, I thought this match was honestly not that bad. I thought it was good for the story it told. It could have had some improvements, but it's one of Kali's better matches long term.
On the record for my penchant in the anti-Cena Facebook page, I'm contractually obligated to say this is the worst match of all time. Off the record, completely just this match was fine.
See, and that is how you separate kayfabes, ladies and gentlemen. He just did it there for you. Perfect example.
Yeah.
I am obligated, kayfabe-wise, to say, no, this was awful. But I, personally, I love it. I love it. And with that said, we are an hour into this bad boy, and now we got to talk about the Great Khali before we have to take our first commercial break, which I'm getting word from the sponsors, who are already pissed off and writing several hate-filled letters of cease and desist for all the stuff we've said so far.
I swear, when I threw that apple at the guy with Down syndrome, I didn't know he was there. I didn't know he was there.
It was a pure accident. It was pure accident. So the Great Khali, speaking of things falling from 7 feet in the air.
Yes.
It's interesting to look at the career of the Great Khali because he is much taller than I am, and it's actually hurt my neck looking up. But he's had such a weird, like, from the very beginning in 2006, where he's booked as an unstoppable monster, to a playboy, to a whatever he was in 2013.
He went from beating the Undertaker with one kick.
One kick and a foot over him.
Yeah, with a foot, to being eliminated from the Royal Rumble by Beth Phoenix.
Amazing. And that was only in what, a 4-year span?
That was about a 3-year time span.
Wow. It's
Oh, and by the way, it's actually really funny that you had Khali be the spotlight in this match, because I actually just watched the other day SummerSlam 2008, where one of the matches was Triple H versus Khali for the WWE title. That match was awful.
I almost chose that one too, but I was like, let's give him Cena.
So much work.
Yeah, Khali only really had, you could count on one hand that got the really good Khali matches, or passable to good Khali matches.
Yeah.
We just saw one of them. And the other one is, I want to say, it's not Great American Bash, but it's somewhere, it actually might even, no, it's not later. It's I want to say Great American Bash, 2007, which was Khali and Batista. They put on a pretty good match, not in the Punjabi prison, which then saw Khali substituted with Big Show, which made no sense at all.
But we did get to see Batista jump from the inner cage to the outer cage, which was kind of cool.
That was cool. That's probably the only that's the only thing from the entirety of the Punjabi prisons ever that's been entertaining, because they just don't make sense. And then Khali comes back, and I love how Khali almost, like, when Jinder won that match, he basically, like, held the belt up high like he had just won the belt.
Yeah, I remember that.
And but the Playboy thing, where he just went to kissing the girls, and then and for like 4 years after the whole losing to at the Rumble, he just became a guy who would show up, they'd get angry, he'd kiss somebody, and then leave. And he always lost in the Rumble because he's 7 foot tall, and how could anybody throw him over the top?
Oh, and now he's gone.
And he's gone. In short order, too. He never stayed in the Rumble for longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, ever. It's, so...
Remember the 2009 Royal Rumble when he got in there, started throwing people around, and people outside the ring were yelling at him to look at the hard camera?
Yeah. And then he didn't. And then didn't he like eliminate himself in that match?
No, that was with Edge.
Oh, right. Right.
That was with Edge in 2010.
Right. It was God, the Great Khali. What
Khali, man.
The Great Khali, he really he was something. He was something.
Was.
He definitely was worth watching, for whatever good or bad. He was something to see.
Very entertaining individual.
And I love his Instagram now, because his Instagram is like literally him just like walking towards the camera, or he'd post another picture of him just like drinking out of a water bottle, and just it's like literally just like plain stuff, but he's just like living Kali life, just walking down this hallway. It's great.
I have an Instagram to look up when we're
The
done.
Great Khali's Instagram is just it's just odd. It's just full of oddities. It's a perfect summation of and summary of his entire career is his Instagram, and that has made him so abjectly entertaining. I can't explain.
Yeah, he's got a weird charisma about it.
He does. So nothing but a weird love for the Great Khali, and we end this Court Martial podcast on a good note, instead of all the other notes that we've stumbled across and fallen over and broken in half to get here. JoshAgeddon, this has been an absolute blast having you on the show once again.
I look forward to next time for whatever havoc we may wreak.
Well, next time, speaking of, before we actually, even though I'm being tapped on the shoulder by the sponsors as we speak, I have to make a mention, because next week starts the big draft of mine and Skylar Greenberg's selections, which you will be a part of as moderator.
Yeah.
And
curveball enthusiast.
And as in thrower of balls of that curve. And don't even start. Don't even start. I know where you're going with that. Don't even start.
I like my balls nice and curvy.
Save it for next week. But we're going to start picks 1 through 15 in mine and Skylar Greenberg's Ultimate Fantasy Draft. Get excited for that. Thank you very much, JoshAgeddon. Any last words?
I swear I'm not gay. I'm just weird.
What beautiful positivity we end on, ladies and gentlemen. But with that said, we have to take our first commercial break. And we will see you next week. Potentially a live stream this coming up. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen. We might save it for the week after that. But that being said, thank you very much for listening. And we will be back after these messages.